Have you ever found yourself stuck in a frustrating conversation with someone, feeling helpless or even angry, and wondered if there was a better way to handle the situation? What if there was an ancient philosophy that could teach you how to navigate any relationship challenge with calm, wisdom, and confidence? Well, stick around, because in this video, we're going to explore Stoic principles that can completely transform the way you solve problems with people. We've all encountered difficult people or situations that test our patience. Whether it's a heated argument, a misunderstanding with a colleague, or a tense family dispute, we often feel powerless in these moments. But what if the key to handling these challenges wasn't in trying to control the other person, but rather in mastering our own thoughts and reactions? That's where Stoicism comes in. This ancient Greek philosophy, which has been practiced for centuries, is all about focusing on what you can control: your thoughts, actions, and responses. In today's video, we'll explore practical Stoic tips that can help you solve problems with people effectively and with tranquility. And trust me, these tips will change the way you interact with everyone in your life. Section 1. Understand what you can control. The first tip that Stoicism offers for solving problems with people is the importance of understanding what you can control. According to Stoic philosophy, we can only control our own actions, thoughts, and reactions. We cannot control the thoughts, actions, or emotions of others. Let's consider a situation where someone at work criticizes your project. Instead of reacting with frustration or defensiveness, the Stoic approach would be to pause and focus on what you can control: your response. Can you listen and reflect on the feedback? Can you approach the conversation calmly and use it as a chance for growth? By focusing on your own behavior rather than trying to control the other person, you not only maintain your inner peace, but you're also more likely to find a constructive solution to the problem. Include a personal anecdote or real-world example of applying this principle. Section 2. Practice emotional detachment. The second tip is to practice emotional detachment. Now, I know this doesn't mean shutting off your emotions or becoming cold. Instead, Stoicism teaches us how to avoid being controlled by our emotions in moments of conflict. When you're in a tense conversation or argument, it's easy to get swept up in the heat of the moment and let your emotions dictate your actions. But the Stoics believed that if we can detach ourselves emotionally from the situation, we can better assess the problem and respond rationally. Let's say you're having a disagreement with a friend. Instead of getting angry or upset, try stepping back mentally and asking yourself, what is the underlying issue here? What's the best way to address this without letting my emotions take over? This mental shift can make a world of difference in how you approach the conflict. Engage with an analogy or personal example of how detachment changes the way you handle difficult people. Section 3. Practice empathy and perspective taking. The third Stoic tip for solving problems with people is practicing empathy and perspective taking. The Stoics believed that one of the best ways to solve conflicts is by understanding the perspective of others. When someone disagrees with us or acts in a way we don't like, it's often easy to assume their actions are personal. But what if we considered that their actions might stem from their own struggles, fears, or misunderstandings? Instead of immediately defending yourself or becoming upset, take a moment to consider their viewpoint. This doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but understanding their perspective can create space for compassion and a more productive conversation. This is a powerful way to dissolve conflict and reach mutually beneficial solutions. Share a personal story where empathy helped resolve a disagreement. Section 4. Are there limits to Stoic wisdom? Now, let's dive into a deeper question. Is Stoicism always the answer? Is it possible that sometimes it's better to be assertive or emotionally expressive in certain situations? Some critics of Stoicism argue that always striving for emotional control and detachment can lead to being overly passive or ignoring valid emotional responses. While Stoicism emphasizes calmness, there are moments when standing up for yourself or showing strong emotion is necessary, especially in situations where your values are being challenged. It's important to find a balance between Stoic restraint and emotional expression, and know when it's time to use each approach. Offer a balanced view on when to apply Stoic principles and when to act more assertively. Section 5. The power of perspective in conflict. Another key Stoic principle is to recognize that our perspective shapes our experience of conflict. When you view a disagreement through the lens of fear, ego, or frustration, it can escalate quickly. But if you approach it with a perspective of curiosity and calm, the entire situation transforms. Stoics believed that we can control how we perceive the world around us, and by shifting our focus, we can diminish the impact of conflict. Let's take an example. You're in an argument with a colleague over a project deadline. Instead of immediately assuming the worst, that they're being unreasonable or attacking your work, try to shift your perspective. Perhaps they're under pressure themselves, or maybe they have a different approach they believe will work better. By changing your perception of the situation, you're no longer trapped in a reactive state. You're able to respond thoughtfully and look for common ground. Provide a personal story or example where changing perspective helps solve a problem. Section 6. Embrace the dichotomy of control. One of the most powerful Stoic concepts is the dichotomy of control, this idea that some things are up to us and others are not. The Stoics believe that much of our suffering comes from trying to control things beyond our power. When it comes to people, this principle is incredibly valuable. We can't control how someone behaves, how they communicate, or what they believe. But we can control how we react. Think about a time when someone treated you unfairly. You may have felt angry, hurt, or misunderstood. But the Stoic response isn't to focus on the other person's actions. It's to focus on how you respond. Ask yourself, what's in my control here? How can I handle this situation with dignity and clarity? By embracing the dichotomy of control, you're able to free yourself from unnecessary frustration and focus on what truly matters, your own behavior and response. Share a real-world example where applying the dichotomy of control helped you manage a difficult situation. Section 7. Turning challenges into opportunities for growth. Another Stoic tip for solving problems with people is seeing every conflict as an opportunity for growth. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, said the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This means that when you face a challenge, whether it's a difficult conversation, a disagreement, or a difference of opinion, it's not a setback. It's a chance to learn, grow, and become stronger. For example, if you're having a heated disagreement with a family member, rather than viewing it as something you need to avoid, see it as an opportunity to practice patience, empathy, and communication. Maybe you'll learn something new about the other person, or perhaps you'll refine your ability to express your own feelings more clearly. Whatever happens, every challenge you face is a stepping stone toward becoming a wiser and more resilient person. Use a personal anecdote or example to highlight how turning challenges into growth opportunities works in practice. Section 8. The role of virtue in solving problems. Virtue, according to Stoic philosophy. Stoics believed that living a virtuous life, one that is in alignment with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, is the path to true happiness and peace. When you approach conflicts with virtue, you're more likely to find solutions that are not just effective, but also morally sound. Let's break this down in the context of dealing with difficult people. For instance, if you're facing a disagreement with a friend, your response may be guided by the virtue of justice, treating the other person with fairness and respect. Even if you disagree, you may be guided by wisdom, choosing the best course of action for both of you, not just for yourself. Or perhaps you'll embody temperance, resisting the urge to lash out or become overly emotional in response to their actions. By aligning your actions with these virtues, you elevate the conversation, making it more likely to result in a constructive and peaceful resolution. Share an example where the application of virtue helped you resolve a conflict effectively. Section 9. Detaching your ego from the outcome. The Stoics were masters at managing their egos, understanding that our sense of self-worth should not be tied to external outcomes, especially when it comes to relationships and conflict. One of the most effective ways to resolve issues with people is by detaching your ego from the situation. When we get attached to winning an argument or getting the other person to agree with us, we're allowing our ego to drive the conversation. This makes it harder to resolve the issue because we're more focused on being right than on finding a solution. Instead, the Stoic approach is to focus on the process, not the outcome. If you have a disagreement with someone, instead of trying to win the argument, focus on understanding their perspective, communicating clearly, and acting with integrity. By detaching your ego, you can engage in more open, honest, and effective conversations, leading to better problem solving. Provide a personal example of how detaching your ego from the outcome helped you handle a difficult situation. So, let's quickly recap the Stoic tips that can help you solve problems with people. First, focus on what you can control: your own responses and actions. Second, practice emotional detachment so that you can respond rationally instead of reacting impulsively. And third, try to understand others' perspectives. Empathy is a powerful tool in resolving conflicts. By applying these Stoic principles, you'll not only handle challenging situations with more grace, but you'll also find that you're able to maintain your inner peace even when things get heated. Remember, it's not about changing others. It's about changing the way you respond to them. So, next time you're in a difficult situation with someone, ask yourself, how can I apply Stoic wisdom here? If you found these Stoic tips helpful, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever used any of these ideas in your own life? How did they work for you? Drop a comment below to share your experience. And if you want more content like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share this video with anyone who might find it useful. Let's create a more peaceful, thoughtful world together. Before I wrap up, I want to leave you with this Stoic quote: "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." By applying these Stoic principles, we can reduce unnecessary suffering in our relationships and find a way to approach conflict with calm, clarity, and compassion. Thanks for watching, and I hope you start applying these tips to your everyday interactions. Until next time, stay peaceful, stay wise,